Hey, Tony Gaskins here. Y'all got to forgive me. I was in the office all day. Came out of office, said, hey, you know what? I forgot to touch on this here Keke Palmer topic. And don't feel like walking back in the office and sitting down at the desk. So I said, I'm finna sit right here and talk about this in the car before I head to the house. Now, listen to me now. This is something to where with this Keke Palmer situation, my wife sent this to me, and then a couple of y'all mentioned it. This is very real, as we know. Anybody that's ever been in a relationship, you know how it can go there. You know it can go there, and you know all of the different ways it can go there. It's not always one size fits all. It's not always one way about it. It's a lot of antecedent behaviors, a lot of precursors that lead up to this. And so you have to think about this and start thinking about your communication, thinking about the red flags, thinking about those little signs that you overlook, the little things you overlook that could lead to it. You also got to understand the difference between the makeup, because sometimes in a relationship, so sometimes when it gets physical, it could be the man being physical or it could be the woman being physical. But typically when one person is being physical and the other person isn't, when you look at those relationships, it's going to be different scenarios. So sometimes you have a person who is very insecure, very controlling, and they saw the physicality growing up. It's what they learned. It's what they believe is a part of a relationship. And you have this other person who may be seen as an innocent party. And the person who is physical may have their triggers. Their triggers does not mean that it's the other person's fault, but it means that they have their triggers. And sometimes abusers' triggers are very sensitive. So an abuser's trigger could be the other person looked in the direction of someone of the opposite sex. The other person talked to somebody, spoke to somebody of the opposite sex. The triggers could be all over. The other person did just any little thing that is a trigger for the abuser. Now, when you look at a situation like Keke Palmer and her guy, we don't know the details on their situation. So that's why I'm not ever talking or gossiping about the actual couple. We're just using this for real life application, meaning everyday application, non-celebrity application. In the world, when you see this typically, where the man and the woman, they get together, the woman is she's like a butterfly, she's like a mermaid, she's a big personality, she's very outspoken, she's a big personality. And the man may be more an introvert, more behind the scenes. He could be more quote unquote conservative. This a lot of times can get very volatile in situations where one person is a social butterfly and the other person is like a wallflower. Oftentimes, us wallflowers want to control or change the social butterfly. And the social butterfly oftentimes uses words as their form of assertiveness or aggression or attack. So, for example, when you're on the outside looking in, one person, the person who uses words could say, you are the stupidest, most ignorant, dumbest, small penis having man I've ever seen. You need to suck your own thing, because you are an imbecile, and I wish that your mother aborted you. Now, I'm painting this picture because I want you to feel this, okay? Because I want you to realize that this is how it's not always one size fits all. Now, imagine there's a camera in the corner, and the person who uses their words just said that. And you can invert it. Imagine it could be the man saying it to the woman. The man, if he knows how to press a button, and it could be the woman saying it to the man. So that's why when I look at a situation like the still shots of him and her, any form of abuse is never okay. Verbal, emotional, or physical. None of it is okay. But when you start to understand abuse, you understand that still shots from a camera won't tell the whole story, because there's an antecedent behavior that leads to the physical altercation. That antecedent behavior, we don't know what that is. Now, if it's not just still shots, but if it's audio being recorded, then you'll hear the conversation. So think about this. If a person who lacks the words to express what's on their mind, let's say somebody is not all that articulate, they're not all that verbally expressive, but when they get angry, they see red and they get physical. And we all know men and women who are like this. It may be you, or it may be your sibling. It may be one of your parents, one of your friends. We all know them people who, they don't do too much talking. When they get angry, it gets physical. But then we all know them people who, they won't get physical, but they will fillet you with their words. And they will make you want to punch yourself with your words. They'll make you want to hurt yourself. They'll make you want to take your own life with their words. And so this abuse thing, it gets very complex, because it's not one size fits all. And that's the issue with relationships, is a lot of times, I remember the relationship I was in before I got married, the young lady was mentally abusive. She was mentally abusive, and she told my sister her goal was to make me be physically abusive. And she told me that her sisters all got choked out by their boyfriends, and her mom would get choked out by her dad. So she said that choking and fighting doesn't really bother her, because she knows it means love. So now this is where we talk about provocation. So, and again, to the people who are slightly, you might be new here. We're not talking about specifically Keke Palmer and this man, because we don't know the details. We applying this situation to everyday life and talking about the caveats and the nuances of relationships as it relates to abuse. So here's the thing. You have to be mindful if you know that you are prone to violence. Because if you know this is a learned behavior, or this is something you've done before, and this is how your personality works, you have to understand your triggers. And you got to know that if you trying to change this person, you trying to control this person, and them deciding they're going to be and do what they want to do is going to make you lose control because you feel like you're out of control, then you have to know and realize, you got to understand that this person is not for you, and you need to exit stage left. Now, if you know that you are with somebody who can get abusive, somebody who can be very controlling, somebody who can do this and that, you also have to understand that if you going to be provoking them or saying something or doing something, you're going to open up a can of worms. So you got to realize, okay, if this person will put hands on me, male or female, without me doing anything to them, with just me existing and living life, this the wrong relationship. You need to leave. Now, with Keke Palmer and them situation, and this is what I try to tell you, the man could say, oh, she said this to me. She told me she cheated on me. She admitted to sleeping with this guy. Or she told me she's going to take my son and I will never get to see my son again. I don't know if they got a son or not. The man might come out and say something like that. He may come out and say he lost his cool because she threatened to take their son and promised him that he will never see their son again and that he lost it. Or he may say, she told me she's been having an affair with another man or another woman and we are done and she wants full custody of our child. If he speaks, he probably going to say one of those things. Because at the end of the day, what else will he say? Will he say, I just went over there and I ain't like her makeup, so I put hands on her? Or I just went over there and as I was looking at her, I just decided I'm going to just put hands on her? Now, there are men and women who are abusers, because we don't want to just generalize and we don't want to genderize to where we just assume that only one. Because I remember working with a young man who his woman was the abuser, and his woman punched him in the nose, bust his nose open, he leaking. Then she grabbed him and body slammed him on the hood of their car. And this was a woman. And so there are women as well who will punch you in your mouth. You say something they don't like, they'll punch you in your mouth. You come in too late, they'll punch you in your mouth. You look at another woman, they'll punch you in your mouth. So this goes both ways, but it just typically, men don't feel comfortable going to the police about this. Typically, men feel like, no, I can't tell anybody. I'm gonna look soft, I'm gonna look like a punk, they're not gonna care. And so typically men will just, they'll suck it up, they'll be quiet and go on about their life. So we got to realize and understand this, that this can go both ways. Now with the Keke Palmer situation, because of these pictures and because of her celebrity and her money, there's a strong possibility she gonna get full custody of that child. Because I believe we remember, I think it was Dwayne Wade got full custody of his break baby. And I think it was Ludacris got full custody of his break baby. And so celebrity and money matters. So if she got money, which you never know where people finance that, but if she got a good lawyer, it's a good possibility with these pictures she gonna get full custody. But this is also, when I look at the situation, I realize that this is most likely a insecure man who cannot handle, he wants a normal existence with a normal woman, but yet he got with a celebrity who used to be into women and was one of them type of sexualities that's like fluid or whatever. And then she very outgoing, outspoken. She like a leaf in the wind, like a mermaid in the ocean. And then he coming and he's saying he got standards and he wanted a certain type of woman, but it's like, bro, you know what you got. And this is what is making so many men become abusive. And I know this because I've lived through this, and many men I know has lived through this. And this is what my father taught me. He said, son, don't ever try to change a woman. He say, look at who she is, accept who she is, and if she is not the woman for you, move on with your life. Because when we try to control a human, we will lose control of that human. And when you're trying to control a situation, you lose control of yourself when you lose control of that situation. And so I want to paint a picture so you can help understand this. And of course, you're going to have those people that say there's no excuse ever for abuse. And that is right. There is no excuse for abuse. So this is not an excuse. This is an explanation. And so what you realize is, if you ever see somebody trying to control like a classroom, let's say you got a teacher trying to control a classroom, and the kids, they doing spitballs, they throwing paper, they hitting the teacher with the paper, they beating on the desk, they making all this noise. What does the teacher do? The teacher loses his or her mind. We've seen videos of it on YouTube where the teacher is cursing the kids out. The teacher flip a desk. We've seen videos where the teacher has punched kids, body slammed kids, like physically got into it with kids because of the kids being rambunctious and the teacher trying to control the situation instead of just leaving the classroom. Instead of leaving the class, going to the principal and say, listen, I can't control these Title A, Title F, whatever title it is, Title I. I can't control these kids. These kids is raising themselves. These kids, mom and daddy not home. They working 3 jobs, or they out in the street strung out. These kids in here cussing me out. They hitting me with stuff. They doing this and that. I can't do it. When a teacher trying to control that classroom, what they do? They go crazy. Think about a director trying to control a set. And actors keep talking. They keep talking. They keep messing up. What they do? Scream and yell at the top of their lungs. They go off. Think about a parent trying to control their child. What does a parent do when the parent trying to control the child and the child is out of control? The child keep having a temper tantrum, falling on the floor, screaming, yelling. If ain't nobody looking, what that parent do? That parent will slap that child. That parent will grab that child as hard as they can by that arm, yank that child. That parent may drag that child across the road to where their feet dragging and they holding them by their collar. Like, listen, we done seen it in movies. We done seen it in real life. Think about some of the whoopings we done got for us getting out of control. I've got a whooping one time. It cut my leg open. The back of my thigh was cut open. My mama whooped me. Back of my thigh was cut open, bleeding from the belt. The belt hit me the wrong way, and it cut me. Put a welt in my skin and cut me. I remember back talking to my mama or doing or saying something. I'm walking in the house. She slapped me in the back of the head so hard, grabbed that hook, pulled that hook up, then lifted me into the house. We had a step to step into the house, then lifted me into the house with the back of my head. Guess what? My dad had to put in a rule that my mama could no longer whoop us, because she would whoop us when she got angry. When she got angry, when she got upset, that's when she wanted to deliver the punishment, and that's when the punishment, it'll get out of hand sometimes. When you try to control a human being and you cannot control that human being, what happens? You lose control. So this is the lesson from this situation is, if you are with someone, do not try to control that person. Do not try to change that person. Recognize who they are. And if who they are is not a fit for you, remove yourself from the relationship. Remove yourself. This is what you have to do. If you are with somebody and you see that they cannot control their temper, that who you are as a person, the stuff you say, the way you look, the way you breathe, the way you walk, it triggers them, leave the relationship. So here's the thing. Now, we can't look at a relationship like this because me doing this, I understand. I'm a coach by day, so I coach couples every day. And there are situations where, and I'm not saying this the Keke Palmer situation, but there are situations where the woman will press all of the man's buttons and will provoke him and keep, antagonizing him and pushing him, and will threaten him so that she can trigger him to the point that he puts hands on her, so that it gives her an excuse and an alibi to be able to file for divorce or be able to get full custody of the child. And it's because the woman knows that the man is not emotionally intelligent, or he's short-circuited, or he's very insecure, or he could get out of control, he could get irate, that he has a temper. And this happens vice versa too. So a lot of times what you will see is there are couples where one person is poking the bear. They poking the bear, and they doing little stuff that they know sends this person over the edge. And they want to see this person get over the edge. When they want to stay together, they want to see them get over the edge because it represents love. So a lot of times abuse can happen both ways. Abuse can happen from the man to the woman verbally, and then from the woman to the man physically. From the woman to the man verbally, and then from the man to the woman physically. Because even when you look at when we was in middle school, the two boys, they say two words and then they swinging on each other, they fighting. The two girls, they are screaming and yelling and arguing for 5 minutes and not a single punch thrown. But then you might see another woman, another girl, she don't do all that talking. You say something wrong to her, she drag you by that weave and she beating the brakes off of you. You see some guys, they stand and they just yell at each other and cuss each other out, just bowing up at the chest, but don't throw no hands. So it's different personalities. And so this is what you have to be aware of. This is what you got to be mindful of. You got to think about this in your relationship, and you got to know your triggers. You also got to learn your partner triggers, and then you got to learn your rules of engagement, and you got to put in your communication rules, so that way you can avoid it going from verbal to physical. Now, resting in the verbal, staying in the verbal don't make you better, because verbal abuse will still break you down. It'll make you hate yourself. It may make you suicidal. It may put you into depression. Like, verbal abuse still can be very, very toxic and still can take a lot out you. Now, here's the thing. With verbal, the difference is the word itself. If you call me stupid, ugly, ignorant, dumb, little dang-a-lang, you call me whatever, it doesn't physically knock me out. Like, it doesn't hit me in my temple. It may hurt my feelings. It may make me depressed. It may make me angry. It may make me sad. If you do this every single day, you may make me suicidal or homicidal because of hearing these words every day. But now, if you take and pick up something and you hit me in my head, that one blow could kill me. So see, what you got to realize is, like, the verbal, it is dangerous. It's a slow drip. It's a slow drip. But the physical, it could hit you like a tsunami. Now, if there's no drainage, that slow drip will still fill up, overflow. It still could drown you. But a tsunami, it might come through one time, but with the force you get hit with, it could knock you unconscious and you could drown, even though the water keep going and it levels out. Where the slow drip, the water just keep getting higher, 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 higher. Where the tsunami, like, it could just be like a big wave, just come hit, boom, crash, boom, knock you out, boom, you go underwater, boom, you drown. But then the water go on and it settles on down, and tide go on down. So see, it's a difference between that verbal and that physical. So it's like, let's say the woman is verbal. that man is getting angry. Her verbal abuse is angering him, it's triggering him, it's bothering him, it's hurting him. But if he takes and gets physical and he choke her, he could kill her. He hit her in the temple, he could kill her. What she said to him didn't kill him, it just triggered him. And vice versa. The man could say something like, I wish your mama would have aborted you. You the dumbest woman I ever met. You this. Just me saying this just to paint the picture hurt. Just me saying this to paint the picture make my stomach release acid. I feel acid going into my stomach. Like just from my bloodstream. Like words have power. You hear me? Words have power. And so that's why we have to be careful. Because anybody, even your child, could be provoked. Your pastor, your doctor, anybody could be provoked. You got to be careful. You've got to be careful when you're in a relationship. Do not feel like, oh, I'm not putting hands on them, male or female. I ain't putting hands on them, so it ain't that bad. No. Them words have power. It could lead to that. Oh, at least I ain't saying this and that. I'm just giving a little choke, just giving a little shove, just giving a little this or that. It's just a little scare tactic. No. Because you could go to do a scare tactic and they really fear for their life and then they take your life. You go do a scare tactic, they call the police, you go to prison. So see, no form of abuse. You got other forms of abuse too now. Financial abuse. What I call social abuse. It was social abuse when Keke Palmer guy went public about her outfit. That's social abuse. So now we see it wasn't just stopping at the social abuse. Now it went to physical abuse. Now, she in a relationship. She's supposed, we assumedly, we believe she have money. So it's like, okay, did you need him because of financing? Because, you know, sometimes it's those relationships we like, oh, we can't blame the woman. She didn't have the finances. She didn't have anywhere to go. She had to stay because he's the breadwinner. Is that the case here with Keke Palmer and her guy? We don't know. We could assume, but it's like, I mean, what actually is she doing to make money right now? Okay, she doing shows. That may be some money right there. Maybe getting residuals. We all know residuals not a lot. If y'all don't know, residuals not a lot of money. But doing shows, that could be some money right there. Performing her songs, her streams or whatever from her songs. You get that. If she independent, she'll get that payout every month. That could be some grands. And so it could be some money. We would assume that Keke Palmer make enough money for her own mortgage or rent, whichever she want to do. So it's like, we don't necessarily feel like or assume that she would be with him for financial reasons. And what we also have to realize is we attract what we are, not what we want. When I say attract, I don't mean who approaches us. I mean who we settle down with. Who you settle down with is a reflection of you, because that's where your comfort level is. So it's something that you are feeling or going through or giving off that allows us to settle down with an abuser and to be amongst that abuser and around that abuser and dealing with that person. And it's little red flags that before it gets physical, it's little red flags. Very subtle sometimes, very subtle. And it may be like, hey, you know, I'm gonna go out tonight with my friends. No, you're not. You staying home with me. I don't believe in you going out with your friends more than once in a month. And you already went out one time. And yeah, I went out, but you made me come home at 11 p.m. Okay, yeah, I did that. Yeah, you right, but you ain't going out this time. That little sign right there, it ain't physical. It ain't even verbal, but that's still controlling. That's social abuse now, because now you're being isolated from your friends. So now you got to think about, okay, what is this a precursor of? What antecedent behavior is this? What could this lead to? And that's what people miss. So, hey, now listen, I could talk 3.5 more hours. So yes, understand that this is not a complete, comprehensive breakdown of this situation. There are far more caveats and nuances, but I'll be here all day long. So y'all don't take offense if I ain't hit every single angle and touch on every part of it. And no, this is not victim shaming or anything like that. This is an explanation of how we end up in these toxic situations and how we can recognize this so that we know when we need to leave. So, hey, understand that right there. Y'all forgive my hat to yawn. And so, when you get this right here in your spirit and you realize that there are precursors, there are little subtle signs that let you know, ooh, something off. Something off with this right here. Something off with this person. They're a little too, I feel like this might go a little too far. And especially if you know you the type of person that you gonna press their buttons, you gonna trigger them intentionally or accidentally, then you need to remove yourself. If you truly believe this person could fly off the handles and do something dangerous, you got to be careful. Got to be careful. And you got to remove yourself. Don't play with it. Do not play with abuse. I'm gonna tell you, like, even if you are verbally abusive, don't feel like because you verbally abusive, you deserve to be physically abused. Don't feel like, oh, well, this the way I play my game, so that's the way they play their game, so I'm gonna deal with it because I'm guilty. Don't play with abuse, because it's gonna kill you. Abuse will kill you. 100% of the time. It's just gonna get worse and worse and worse and worse, and eventually you wake up dead. Point blank, period. It ain't no way around it. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Abuse will kill you. So be mindful of that. Be understanding of that. Know that that's the real deal, and get your life all the way together. Hey, this Tony Gaston. God bless you. We'll talk soon.